Let me know when.
It's when I messed it up. This is the intro. We're
Oh, we're
unmuted
starting.
and I'm throwing.
All right, welcome to the Question Chronicles, even though you've probably been here for a second or two already, where we ask each other questions, give each other confident answers, and then do a little research off camera to see if we were right or wrong.
I just reordered the things in our Discord. Hold on. I lost it. Okay.
The script, the script.
The script, where is it? Whether it's your most recent hyperfixation or you just want someone else to look it up for you, we're here to help. Probably not, if I'm being honest. It's been rough.
We're not batting great.
Yeah, dude, it is so cold. Like my house is freezing.
Yeah, we were at a -20 this morning when we took the dog out.
Jesus. Dude, I am so glad that I do not have dogs. Like, I'm a cat person. I have a lot of cats. Love cats. But I don't know, man. If I had to wake up at like 2 a.m. when it is -20 out and just watch my dog roll in the dirt and not poop. Oh, man.
Well, I'm glad you mentioned that because that's actually when Oliver woke us up last night because he had to poop.
How long did he roll around the dirt before he pooped?
He doesn't. It's like too cold for him, so we go out, he pees or he poops, and then we grab him. We bring him back.
That's weird. Oliver's he's not chonky, but he's built tough.
Thick.
He's built
He's
Ford
dense.
tough.
He's Tonka tough.
Is Tonka a real brand? Or is that just like the toy truck brand?
It's the toy trucks.
But like there's not a real brand Tonka, right?
Well, it's the toy trucks, yeah. They're not real cars.
Gotcha. Something is happening.
They are.
With my microphone.
Technical difficulties already.
Something weird is just happening with it.
You sound fine.
Do I? Like in the stream too?
I don't know. I'm not hearing double right now.
Hold on. I need to just stand by.
Yeah, sound fine in stream too.
Well, yeah, okay. Now I changed it. Sweet. Thank you. Okay, here we go. I think I went first answering and asking last week, so it's your turn.
Oh shit. I forget what I said last week. Oh, no, I don't. Last week, you asked me about Unity and why people were fleeing from it.
I did. That is what I asked.
And I mentioned that it was because of some, percentage-based payment thing that they were introducing.
Which is
I'm hoping what I found was right, because there's like nothing else about Unity drama in 3 pages of Google. So what it actually is they were going to charge 20 cents per installation to game devs, which would have been effective retroactively as well.
Yes.
And that would have began January 1st, 2024. That price would have gone down if you had a higher paid subscription for Unity. And it would have also been on top of any existing licensing fees. For example, for like Microsoft and other bigger companies that might use Unity for some of their smaller studios, they would have had to pay that installation fee on top of whatever other agreement they had.
Yeah.
This did cause the CEO to step down.
There
have
were
since gone back on that decision.
There were definitely some other things.
There were other things, but that's what you can expect from the former EA CEO.
True.
They did end up January 1st, 2025. They increased the price of their subscription models. But otherwise, they have gone back on the 20 cents or whatever cents it was per installation.
Yeah, and part of the reason why people were like super outraged by what they were doing is because let's say that someone buys your game and they have 2 computers. It's not per purchase, it's per install. And you did say that correctly, but I want to draw attention. So like I do not a whole ton, but a decent amount of installing and uninstalling games on Steam just for like memory management on my computer. So that means every Unity game that I play, every time I download and re-download it, that's 20 cents to the developer. And so if you have like a $5 game, all of a sudden, like, someone undownloads and downloads your game a bunch, you are losing money now off of that person.
Yeah, and they did quickly. I think it was even in like October, even, and this announcement came out in September of 2023. I think it was already within a few months they said that wasn't going to be the case. It was going to be like once per user, but then how do you track that? How do you track a lot of this stuff? I'm sure there's ways, but they ended up just getting rid of the whole thing.
Yeah, because there was a mass exodus.
Yeah.
And if I can
Vampire
put on
Survivors, Cult of the Lamb.
yeah, if I can put on my conspiracy cap for a second, I think part of the reason why they had to increase their payment for their subscription services is because of the mass exodus. They had to like balance their portfolio basically, because now they had a smaller base that was definitely loyal. Because if you stick through the company like that, even though it didn't happen, like, you've got to be a loyal person to them. Like, you've got to be brand loyal to Unity if you're doing that, because
I think that could definitely have played a factor, played a part. Could also just be like inflation. I didn't look up how much it went up by.
yeah, I mean, it went up like $10. Yeah, you're probably right. It was just inflation. But yeah, they also started to push a model where, like, even if you were an independent developer, you had to like pay I think it's like $2,000 a year or something.
Yeah.
For the high tier membership to avoid that cost. And so they were basically just forcing people to buy the highest subscription that possible.
Yeah.
And at this point,
honestly, just a crazy concept to ever even consider like charging per install.
Yeah, freaking wild. Because like, if someone hates your studio, all of a sudden they can go on Steam and just uninstall and reinstall your game.
Just bankrupt you.
Yeah. It's like sorry, go ahead.
I saw there was like a bunch of memes about pirating games. And so you're not paying for it, but they're paying 20 cents for that installation.
Oof. I guess that would be how that worked. I mean, I'm sure. How would you track quote unquote pirated downloads though? Or pirated installs? Because I'm sure that like
that was my biggest question with it too, but I'm sure people smarter than me make memes, so they have to know what they're talking about. It's true. The internet. You wouldn't just go lie, would you?
That's true. Why would you lie on the internet? It's unethical. My camera is getting weird. Let me bring it back to reality. All right, there we go. So my question for you this week is, I sent you something, but I told you not to look at it. Still don't look at it, because you can read it next week. There are 4 quote-unquote classes in Terraria. There's melee user, ranged user, mage, magic user, and summoning. I'm not going to tell you what they are or how they work. I mean, you can probably guess based on the names. But which of those do you think you would pick in the game, A? And B, which one of those do you think encapsulates you best as a person?
I think from the little I know about Terraria, probably what I would pick is either summoning or melee. These are the things I played originally for like a lot of World of Warcraft. It was Warlock, having a pet demon, and like summoning demons and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But overall, what I've enjoyed more in a lot of games is melee play styles. And a lot of that lends itself to me being a tank in most games I play.
Mm-hmm.
And you don't typically have ranged tanks. Final Fantasy XIV, I played Dark Knight and Warrior for a little bit before switching to Monk. The only ranged I tried was Dancer, because it was like a support class, and I didn't vibe with it too hard, but it was all cool. Really like unique mechanics in that game, but overall I'd probably pick melee with a potential for summoning, a dash of summoning, if you will.
Gotcha. I mean, you pretty much have to once you get into the later parts of the game, you pretty much have to spec into one because
Yeah.
you have a limited amount of gear slots and the gear does not overlap.
Okay.
And so, like, you can summon some homies, but you're not, I wouldn't call you a summoner if you have, like, one summoning weapon.
Yeah. Yeah.
Gotcha. So, that's your play style. Now, you as a person, what do you think you would fall into?
Probably still melee.
Can I get a why? Can I get a because?
Yeah, I was trying to think of how to word it, because, I mean, I know Terraria has fucking yo-yos, which sounds awesome.
Those are melee,
Yo-yo
though.
master.
Yeah, those are melee.
Oh, okay. Even better. I figured they would be ranged.
No.
I don't know. Just something about, like, tanking, being on the front lines, wrestling.
Gotcha. Yeah, interesting. I have a question just popped into my mind, but I'll ask it to you next week. It's about a game I had on CD-ROM.
Oh God, Qbert.
It's not Qbert. Let me write it down real quick. Oh, everyone just heard my computer make a Windows noise. All right. I think that's actually all for my question for this week. Now it is my turn to answer your question.
Perfect.
So, last week you asked me, in Smash 64, also known as Super Smash Bros., the OG, what are the unlock conditions for Ness and Jigglypuff? Because there are 8 characters that you start with, and then 4 you can unlock later. Talked about Luigi and Captain Falcon, but you asked me specifically about Ness and Jigglypuff, because I primarily main Ness in games because I'm a toxic person.
That's right.
And you main Jigglypuff because you're an annoying person.
Also true.
Okay. So they both have pretty similar conditions, and they're pretty similar to Captain Falcon as well. So Jigglypuff's is complete a one-player game, or classic mode, and then defeat Jigglypuff on Saffron City, which is just a Pokemon city. Players that lose the fight against Jigglypuff can refight it by completing one-player game again. And then there's some minutia there that we'll talk about in a minute. For Ness, it's complete a one-player game on normal difficulty or higher with 3 stocks or less without continuing, then defeat Ness on Dreamland. Players that lose the fight, blah blah blah, can do it again. So there is a potential way where you satisfy the requirements for Ness, Captain Falcon, and Jigglypuff all at the same time. And there is a hierarchy there, because the game doesn't just throw a random one at you. If you satisfy the conditions for Ness, it'll give you Ness. Otherwise, it'll give you Captain Falcon. Otherwise, it'll give you Pikachu. So Ness is the top of the hierarchy. He will come first. Then Captain Falcon, and then Jigglypuff is last. I would assume it's because Jigglypuff's condition is just the easiest, and then Ness's is the hardest, and Captain Falcon is in the middle.
Jigglypuff's considered probably the character you'll unlock first.
Yeah, because you
can just
boot up
continue
the game
or...
Yeah. Interesting. What I said, I didn't say what I said last week, sorry. For Ness, it was beat 20 minutes of the Infinite Man Challenge, or whatever it's called, which obviously incorrect. Jigglypuff, I thought it was just play a bunch of battles, and it turns out none of the 4 of them are play a bunch of battles.
Yep. Smash 64 had a lot of just the 4 were pretty straightforward. Luigi's being the only weird one where you got to do all the break the target stages.
Yeah.
And I think you technically only have to do 8. It says do it with all 8 original characters, but I think you only have to do it with 8 characters, because you could probably have Jigglypuff unlocked, and it's probably easier to do with Jigglypuff than it is, like, Mario, just because of all the jumps.
Interesting. Yeah, a lot of those cartridges back in the day didn't have a whole ton of space for memory, and so I would not be shocked if it was just like, if break the target integer is greater than 8.
Yeah. One of the wildest things about unlocking these characters, and I think we talked about it last week too, is like in Melee they introduced the Mewtwo was like 100 hours of playing the game.
Yeah, it was either a battle amount or an hours amount.
Yeah. And then your next battle you would have to fight Mewtwo. And it's like you just have a fun game with friends, and all of a sudden, bam, you have to fight me too. That's like a level 8 or 9 CPU,
And you would get bodied every time.
In front of all your friends.
I remember, man, that was a rough fight. I can't even remember who I mained back then. I think I was playing Kirby, because everyone starts out playing Kirby.
I think I was actually still playing Jigglypuff.
Nice. Alrighty, what you got for me this week?
All right, this week, I gotta find it in here. This week, got a question for you about Dark Souls.
Oh, freak.
Do you have any experience with the series?
No. No, I do not.
All right, so the Soulsborne series consists of Demon Souls, Dark Souls 2, Dark Souls 3, Bloodborne, Elden Ring, in parentheses, but like kind of Elden Ring too. You can kind of include Sekiro in there. Those are all the FromSoft games. In all of those games, not including Sekiro, maybe including Sekiro, but I didn't see that on the list, there is a recurring NPC called Patches.
Gotcha.
He appears in all of them in some variation or another. So my question for you is, what are all of his titles throughout the series?
All of his titles?
Yes.
Like Mr., Sir, or just like the Honorable? What exactly are we talking about when you say titles?
Suffixes mostly.
Okay.
So like Patches the...
Great. Gotcha.
Patches the Squatter, because he has a signature squat that he does.
Ooh, okay. So out of curiosity, is Patches a cat?
No.
Tragic. Patches
There is a cat,
great
but
cat
it's Sweet Chiclure.
Gotcha. And so, how many games does he satisfy?
Dark Souls 1.
2.
2 has an asterisk, but technically 2.
Okay.
3, Bloodborne, Elden Ring.
So we're looking at 5.
Yeah.
Do you encounter him around the same time in the games? Like before a final boss, after the first dungeon, something like that?
He is entirely missable in just about all of them.
Oh, so he's like a side.
It's if you've never played the games, it's kind of hard to describe, but you could theoretically, like Dark Souls 1, you can beat pretty quickly. There's like very little actual criteria to beating the game.
Gotcha. So you
but
could
a lot
rush
of the
through
content
and...
is in. Yeah. You can skip a whole bunch of stuff.
Gotcha.
And
Okay.
it's the same in like Elden Ring, Dark Souls 3, Dark Souls 2, Bloodborne. I think a little bit less so, but still very much similar.
Sweet. So, I'm gonna list 5 titles. I'm not gonna say which games they belong to. That way I can guess the number, but not the order of the numbers, if you know what I'm talking about for the lottery.
Okay.
So, first we're gonna start out with Patches, the Overseer. Because in my mind, I'm envisioning him as kind of a world master.
Okay.
Like a lot of companies put a character in their game that is like the voice of the developers or the voice of whoever. There's someone in Skyrim who is that, or who's theorized to be that. It's like Malik the Liar or something. And he's just a cat or a Khajiit who walks around and is like, Malik always lies. And then he'll tell you like wild things about the world's creation. Sorry, so the first one is Malik the... Did I say Overseer?
Patches the Overseer.
Sorry, I said Patches the Overseer. Patches from Beyond.
Okay.
Patches the... Are any 2 of them the same, or are they all different?
I believe they're all different.
Gotcha. Patches the Great. We've got to throw that one in there. That's 3. Patches the Missable. And then Patches the... What's like a one-word synonym for side character?
Unimportant.
I'll say Patches...
Expendable.
Oh, Patches the Expendable. That is so good. I'm excited to actually learn about this. I have not played the Dark Souls games. I know I'm supposed to, legally. But
Very true.
I don't know. They're so hard and they take so long and I'm lazy.
No, they don't take long. You just gotta speedrun it your first time.
Yeah, probably
Ever
not.
playing the game.
There was an Elden Ring, it's like Shadow of the Erd Tree, right? Expansion that just came out. I guess it's not just came out anymore. It came out like 6 months ago.
It's been a minute, yeah.
And how many Sekiro games are there? Is there just Sekiro's Shadows Die Twice? Is that what it's called?
Yep, it's just the one. No DLC or anything.
Gotcha.
Also a phenomenal game. Way harder than the Dark Souls series, in my opinion.
What? Wow.
Yeah. It's much less forgiving, and its mechanics are a lot more, like, specific.
Gotcha. Are FromSoft... are FromSoft? I don't know what the grammar of the sentence is.
It is, because it's a game studio. From Software.
Is From Software the people who are... Is Elden Ring... No. Is Dark Souls made by From Software?
Yes. I think... I'm going to double check right now, actually. So I don't out myself.
Because I know Elden Ring is by From Software, and so is Bloodborne. But I wasn't sure if there was... If the Souls games...
All 4 of them are. Demon Souls, Dark Souls 1, 2, 3. Sekiro, Bloodborne, Elden Ring.
Oh, gotcha. And
also
so they
the
just...
Armored Core series.
They just, like, specialize in rage games, then.
I mean...
Not rage,
they have
like,
a lot of other
getting
stuff that's
over
just
it.
not as popular.
Gotcha. I mean, from what I understand...
Armored Cores,
the
a lot of older Armored Core games aren't, but...
Gotcha. Interesting. I'm curious if they'll ever make an MMO. Because, like, I feel like Dark Souls is just so... like, you could do it. It would be easy.
They're making... It's like, they're coming out with Elden Ring, they just announced it. I forget what it was called. It's gonna be like a roguelike, I think.
Ew.
Seems very unique. I'll probably get it because I just enjoy the game, but...
Do you know if it's going to be live service or one-time purchase?
They're all... Well, those aren't mutually exclusive, but it'll be a one-time purchase.
How are they not mutually exclusive?
Live service games are just games that are updated.
Oh. I thought live service meant you pay per month.
No.
What is
that?
Subscription. Subscription. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah, like RuneScape is a live service game, but you don't have to pay the membership.
That's true. So is Toontown.
Exactly.
Well, Toontown
it's not receiving updates.
Toontown receives updates from, like, the third-party fan things that they have going, but yeah, OG Toontown is shut down.
Yeah.
They close the servers.
And that's why it's a live service game, is because when it's no longer live, you don't get the service. Is how I think about it.
Interesting. I'm always curious how people, like, reverse engineer and then make, like, fan-made servers and stuff in those kinds of games.
I think it's like data mining a lot of the time, or a lot of older games just made their code public.
Oh, yeah.
And that was because I know a lot of that stuff is just like on hand. I don't know how data miners do it, but like they just have the code. They just have all of it. And they look for small changes and they're like, oh, this new thing's coming, but in blue.
Interesting. Gotcha. Okay, well, I think we can move on to the fun part now that we've gotten the requirements out of the way.
All right, so I've gone through a few more headlines for you.
Exciting.
So I'm gonna read the headline. You got to give me what you think the punchline, for lack of a better word, is.
Gotcha.
All right, so first, always keep a bread clip in your wallet. Here's why.
A bread clip?
Yeah, a bread
Aren't those massive?
No, like the little plastic ones that are like.
Oh, those.
Like
yeah, I know what you're talking about.
I don't know how to.
I would imagine you'll never need to know when you pick a lock. I feel like those things can be used to pick locks.
Probably. I mean, if you've seen that lockpick guy on YouTube,
he uses locks to pick other locks sometimes.
Yeah, he's used a milk gallon. And empty, but.
Did he just throw it at it?
No, he just like slid it into the door frame and slid it up, and it knocked the the Easy Safe Lock or whatever it was called, whatever that brand was. Just knocked it
nice.
loose.
There was one time when I was in high school, and the band director was late. Not late. I don't know what the definition of late was at that school. But he rolled in, and a bunch of us were like waiting outside the door. And he walked in, and we were trying to pick the lock with someone's like student ID or whatever. And he was like, "What is happening right now?" And we were like, "You weren't here. We need it in." And he was like,
You
"Okay."
weren't here. We got scared.
He was like, "Okay, I will never show up late to work again."
We took matters into our own hands.
Yeah. Well, we did almost break the door. Like, we were...
Oh my god.
The handle jiggled there for the rest of the school year.
A classic.
Yeah.
Tale as old as time. Alright, so the reason you should always keep a bread clip in your wallet, makeshift bookmark.
I feel like I don't read books, A, out in public ever, and B, at my house always.
Yeah. I feel like those two things, used to A and B, are the same point, but...
Yeah, well, but like, if I'm going to a library, I guess I would call that public. Never mind, yeah. I pretty much only read, like, physical books I only read in my house. I might pull up a book on my phone every now and then and read it in public, but like, no, I'm reading books in my house for the most part.
I cannot fathom why this was written.
Was it on Reader's Digest? What was it?
I don't know. This isn't the one I read, so I
Oh, okay.
didn't get any other notes about it. That's just it. I just know the headline and the point of it.
Gotcha.
I can't wrap my head around who was like, I forget a bookmark everywhere I go, and I'm just reading all the time. Bread clip.
But also who was like, who needs this tip? The internet.
Everybody in the world.
Yeah.
I'm so relatable. Anyway, Jeff Bezos says
Love
everything on Earth is better than it was 50 years ago.
Accurate.
Except one thing.
Wow. Oh, wow. You know what? We're going to go with an accurate answer, because I trust Mr. Bezos. We're going to say the environment.
Ding, ding, ding. You got it right.
Wait, actually?
That's what he said.
Let's go! One for
yeah.
two.
I liked this one because it feels pretty rich. Joke intended.
Yeah, he is definitely a majority of the plastic that's going into our society.
That's right. And our bloodstreams.
I mean, not like him specifically, but
yeah.
the things that he is responsible for.
Mr. Jeff Bezos personally putting plastic into my food.
I will say, I've been ordering Amazon packages like everyone else for probably over a decade now. I don't remember exactly when it came out. But like, genuinely, more things are coming in boxes now than bags. When they do come in boxes, the bubble wrap that they send uses a lot less plastic. It's just like those big, like, oval-shaped bubbles instead of small bubble wrap. Yeah. And so, like, he's doing just enough to, like, when under scrutiny, it looks like he's doing something, but, like, we know that different things could be happening. We know that there are better ways.
We're on to you, Jeff.
We gotta be careful. Mr. Bezos owns Twitch, too.
He does. And I use my Prime. I promise.
Me too. I use my Prime sub to give someone free money.
That's right. All right, so this next one you might have like accidentally read, because I remember seeing this months ago. Celebrity recklessly breaks Disney park rule, endangers children's lives.
No, I haven't seen that. What?
Okay, maybe the punchline will will be what you recognize, but
I know it's like super illegal, and Disney's super butthurt about people spreading ashes in their parks, like family members' ashes. So I'm gonna say that someone spread someone's ashes in the park and they like got it in kids' eyes or something.
You're not correct,
Tragic.
but I'm glad that you said ashes because the entire article is based on a single Reddit comment claiming that the user saw Kate Moss smoking a cigarette at Disney World 15 years ago.
Who's Kate Moss?
She was an English model, used to be married to Johnny Depp.
Oh. The only one I know married to Johnny Depp is Amber Heard. I don't know who Kate Moss is.
Before her.
Good for
But
them.
this is I picked this one because it's just ridiculous.
It is strictly hearsay.
An entire article based on a single Reddit comment claiming something from 15 years ago. And to make the title such just like blatantly celebrity recklessly breaks Disney park rule, endangers children's lives.
Is that the one you read?
Yeah. No. This is not the one I read.
Okay, gotcha.
Because I remember I saw that that it's like based on the Reddit comment. And I remember reading about this months ago, and just that like the entire thing was dumb and it was a nothing burger. Like the whole thing was just because someone claimed they saw a famous person smoking a cigarette at Disney.
Nice.
There's just nothing more to it.
That's funny as hell, actually. All right, send it. Next one.
All right, last one I got. I read this article.
This is the one you read. Gotcha.
Costco has officially discontinued this popular food court item, and fans say it's excruciatingly heartbreaking, in quotes.
It's the hot dog. It's got to be the hot dog. I'm going with the hot dog. I know it's probably not right. I'm going with the hot dog, though.
Okay, that is not right. The reason I read this article is because the saved you a click just says fries.
There's no way that they got rid of their fries.
They did?
Really?
Yep. And that's why I wanted to read the article, because I was like, that's okay. Like, cool.
That's like the side to every dish, though. How do you get rid of...
Well, I think you just order a la carte at the Costco food court.
Yeah, but nobody's getting a burger and not getting fries.
Well, I don't think anyone's getting a burger.
Fair enough, they're all about the hot dog.
So it was the reasoning is that it was identified as a loss leader.
True.
But not like worth the loss leading it was doing.
Yeah.
So the hot dog soda combo is $1.50.
Yes, that is definitely a loss leader.
Yeah. That's staying. And
honestly,
that's the one that I know about, and I don't even shop at Costco.
It's probably not even a loss leader. Because I can get a pack of hot dogs at the supermarket and a can of soda for less than $1.50.
It's probably a loss leader if you count the people who are working there.
That's true. I guess I'm not considering the labor that goes into it.
Like someone's got to put it on a bun and give it to you.
Well, even then,
the $5 rotisserie chicken is also one I know of.
Is that a loss leader too?
I imagine, just for like the same reasons. Because if you just get a whole rotisserie chicken for $5.
Interesting. I guess there are so many like hidden costs that are coming to be now. Like, obviously they get the hot dog at like a distribution price or a wholesale price, so like they're probably paying 4 to 5 cents per hot dog, and that's including delivery. But then like the energy bill to heat it up, the energy bill to run the cash register that rigs it up, the labor.
Yep, the cleaning.
Oh yeah. And then any like kitchen items, because I would imagine that all of the kitchen items are kind of averaged out and applied to each item if we're getting technical.
Yeah. Or they just don't have kitchen items and you just go order that hot dog and someone just grabs it. And you know that hot dog's either going to be really good or really bad if that happens.
Yeah. Have you ever had like a roadside hot dog, like a guy with an actual hot dog cart?
I have not.
Okay, I haven't either, but like everyone talks about it like it's this cultural phenomenon, and I just have not been. We'll have to take a trip to New York sometime, and we'll go find a hot dog cart.
Okay, deal. I imagine it's much like the strip mall Chinese place, where you go and it's like this is the place. I will be sick, but it'll be awesome. And it's gonna be $5.
Yeah, there's a strip mall, like Chinese buffet right by our house, and dude, all of my waste for the next month is just water, but it is so good.
that's, that's a way to put that.
Sorry to anyone eating right now.
Yeah, it's got to be something like that with your with the street vendor hot dog.
That's true.
Or
You'll pay
like
for it later, but it's probably pretty good.
Your $12 like stadium hot dog.
Dude.
Or there's something about it where it's like, yeah, that is good.
Yeah.
Never worth $12, but
I remember I went to a baseball game with my wife's family not too long ago, and the amount that they charged for just like, I don't drink, but the amount that they were charging for just like a can of Miller Lite, insane. It was like $15 a can, and I was like, dude, you can get a 12-pack for that. I don't know if you can actually get a 12-pack for it. I don't know what the price of Miller Lite is.
it's probably around there. It might be higher now than when I drank Miller Lite, but
And they also don't give you the can. They pour it into a cup and then give you the cup.
Yep.
And I'm like, what are we paying for, dude? We
I
should
need
have
to
just
get my bottle return.
Yeah, we should have just brought our own beer, which I know is like super frowned upon because they want to collect as much money as possible.
Yeah. I was surprised. We went to a Minnesota Gophers game.
What are they?
The University of Minnesota college football team.
Gotcha.
Or I guess probably all their college teams, but we went to one of the football games, and I didn't realize that they would have beer. Because at least when I was at Iowa, they didn't, and they probably changed. I think they changed that since then.
Was Iowa a dry campus?
No.
Interesting. I think it depends on state, because we definitely didn't have beer at our football games. But we're also like, I went to a small D3 school that it was, I don't know, Pennsylvania's liquor laws are also super strict. Like, you have to have like a really specific liquor license to even sell any kind of alcohol. Like,
Okay.
gas stations aren't allowed to do certain things that liquor stores are allowed to do because they have like different liquor licenses. And like, if you have a beer with dinner at Olive Garden, they have to follow different rules than gas stations and liquor stores. And like, it's a ton of just different rules for every different establishment.
That sounds wild. I remember that was a bit of culture shock for me being in North Carolina for a little bit. Was like Walmart doesn't have liquor. They would have beer and wine, but
you had to go to a liquor store to.
Yeah, they were limited to like number of licenses. I think North Carolina was.
Interesting.
So you could have like grocery and like food and beer.
Gotcha.
Kind of thing.
Ironically, it was a culture shock for me the other way because grocery stores are not allowed to sell alcohol. That is not like for cooking. I'm pretty sure in Pennsylvania. The laws might have changed since I was a kid, but I'm pretty sure when I was a kid, like, you did not go to the grocery store for beer. You had to go to either a gas station or a liquor store, or most people just bought it at the bar because it was cheaper.
Yeah, my whole time in Iowa was just go to a gas station, go to the grocery store, grab your Jaeger or whatever else you wanted.
You know, come to think of it, I do remember the times that we went to Iowa. We would go to the Hy-Vee, is that what it's called?
Oh yeah.
We'd go to the Hy-Vee and there would be like a beer cave, and I'm like, what are we doing here?
Yeah.
Are you allowed
They
to
have
do
the whole
this?
wine and spirits thing at Hy-Vee.
Yeah. Like that's not a thing that happens in Pennsylvania.
Okay. Interesting.
All right. You got more for me, right?
Those are all the headlines I had. But there's been a few things that coming up that I've found interesting to talk about or wanted to get your thoughts on.
Sure.
Try to ping pong some stuff around, but
get the soundboard on them. Or sounding board?
Oh, don't. Ooh, no.
No, is that not what it's called though?
So there's a lot of like AAA companies. I feel like, and maybe this is a getting older thing.
Old.
Now that I'm 900 years old, but
now that video games have finally come out,
things just aren't like as good. Like companies putting out products that are like buggy or incomplete, feature complete being a thing of the past for video games specifically. But something that we actually ran into trying to set up the Apple Music account, Like, how is that just a problem that Apple has been having where you can't
Make an account.
authenticate the account? And they've just had that problem for like months or years now.
Yeah, it's difficult because you're right. When young David was playing on his Game Boy Advance SP, there's one singular bug in one singular game that I can remember from my childhood. And it's Harvest Moon, More Friends of Mineral Town, If You Marry Cliff, If He Has a Job at the Winery, If You Go See Him in the Basement of the Winery, in between the hours of like 12 and 2 p.m. I think that's all the conditions. He's walking around in the bottom looking like he's stocking wine bottles. And you talk to him, and they misspelled the name of the variable in his text bubble. And so instead of it being like, hey, blank, I really miss and love you or whatever, because at this point you're married to him, it says, hey, Paler name with the like less than and greater than signs.
Yeah.
And so like instead of spelling it player name in the code of the game, they misspelled it Paler name, PALYERNAME. And that is like
Nice.
A, not a game breaking bug. B, not even like, it has to be such a specific scenario for you to even see that bug.
Yeah.
And like that is the only game that I played on my Game Boy or my Nintendo DS for that matter, because those are the only really two handheld consoles I had that like had bugs to speak of. But I think that you are obviously correct in my experience, lines up with what you're saying. However, I think it's more of the medium changing, because they don't release incomplete Switch cartridges. Like, if you plug in, like, Mario and Luigi Brothership just came out. That game does not have any bugs to speak of that are game breaking.
Or that you probably encounter, like, at least playing the game normally.
Yeah, everything is as intended and works out of the box. Whereas you're right, for a game like, I don't know, let's say Lethal Company, just because that's a relatively new computer game. When it came out, you're right, they did a beta and it fucking blew. And then everyone was like, this product sucks. And even then when they released it, there were still a bunch of bugs, but I think they fixed it over time. And so you are correct in that there are more bugs, but I think it's less of a problem now than it was, because hotfixes exist. Like, if in the Game Boy Advance era and the handheld era, there were no hotfixes.
You're just shipping out a cartridge, and
your product couldn't connect to the internet.
Patch.
Your product couldn't do any of that. And so if the cartridge shipped with bugs in it, people were not going to buy your game. But now it's like, people buy a game, and even to this day, like, Concerned Ape is patching bugs in Stardew Valley. And that's considered like one of the most critically acclaimed and successful games of our generation. And so I think a lot of it has to do with the mediums in which the public receives games has created an environment where it's okay to release buggy games. Because generally the public is just like, they'll get to it eventually. As long as we report the bug, it will get fixed.
I think I'd agree, and I'm mad about it, just because it's one of those things that, like, I don't think if you ask any individual person, they would be okay with it. But the overall, like, overwhelming consensus is always going to be like, oh, we'll get a day one patch.
Yeah. And we live in a world now where it's easy to do a day one patch, and it's okay to do a day one patch.
It's not. It's if you're a game dev, it's not okay.
But I think a lot of games being developed right now are also by independent developers. Because, like, I agree with you, AAA games should not be released with bugs. That you have teams of hundreds of people who are paid a ton of money, and you are like the cream of the crop, or so you say you're going to be. Especially if you're raising the price of games to $70. There should not be a day one hotfix. Like,
yeah.
The game should function, and no bugs should be... I mean, like, there can be minor things I don't really like. if a texture loads weird in an area, that's fine. But like, there are some game-breaking bugs in some of the new AAA titles that are coming out.
I mean, take the success of like Elden Ring and Baldur's Gate 3.
Yeah, they did not.
Like, bugs existed. Like, there were things that were wrong, but they just gave you a game that was like done. You bought the game, you could play the entire thing, and never run into an issue.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people say the things that you say about them releasing incomplete games, because you did say the word incomplete. I want to, like, that to me is not true, because they're not releasing an incomplete product. It might not be polished, but the game is there, unless it's like in early access. Now, from what I've gathered from what you said,
right,
yeah, early access is not what you're talking about. You're talking about
Correct.
Games fully released that don't function properly or have bugs.
And so the reason I would argue for incomplete is with Steam's new guidance being pushed out on what game developers can sell on their platform. It's been such a big deal that they've released like these new guidelines of what you have to do, and you have to put a date to any DLC that you've announced. And so like that's the kind of thing where I would argue for incomplete. Because if you've released a game and you're like, yeah, DLC coming, like the DLC, you can buy it right now.
At release, you have to specify all the DLCs and the date they're coming out?
When you announce a DLC, you have to specify when it comes out. And you can get like an extension on that, and you can like talk to Steam, obviously, to be like, hey, we had to do a bunch of layoffs, or hey, a bunch of people quit. And get an extension. But they were like, if you have a one delay, that's fine. You can have a 3-month grace period. And if you miss it again, you have to refund everything for that DLC.
Oh, okay.
To avoid like, they're essentially like protecting consumers of like, you're not going to buy a season pass that promises you 4 DLC, and then the company goes under after 1.
Yeah. How many times does that happen though? Like, obviously it's happened enough that it's a problem Steam has to talk about.
Off the top of my head, I don't have examples, but it's a prevalent enough topic of like, hey, this game's coming out, and you can buy the DLC, and it's like, the game just came out. Why are you selling me a game that doesn't have what you've developed?
Oh, yeah. Like, you buy a bundle and then... Gotcha. It'd be like, and to be fair, Capcom does not do this with Monster Hunter, but it would be like Monster Hunter selling World and Iceborne at the same time, or Rise and Sunbreak at the same time.
Yeah, like if World came out and they were like, hey, you can get Monster Hunter World, and also Icebreak.
Yeah. Capcom doesn't do that. I think they honestly don't even do like a pre-release for the DLC. They're just like, one day it's like, surprise DLC, you can buy it.
I'm even questionably fine with, DLC coming out and buying, a $20 expansion, as someone who has bought full price collector's edition expansions of World of Warcraft for 20 years.
Yeah, I mean, personally, I have no problem with DLCs being priced. Like, a lot of people are like, I already bought the game, you should give me the DLC for free. I mean, the company's got to keep making money. And, like,
yeah, if you're getting that big chunk of content, it's basically going to be a new game.
Yeah. Like, it is very cool that Concerned Ape releases Stardew Valley updates with new content without making anyone pay for them.
Yeah.
I think that it would be okay if you would be like, hey, the game costs $15. I don't make a whole ton per prescription. Could you give me $2 for this expansion?
Yeah. And Vampire Survivors was like $2 on Steam.
Yeah. And even if it's just like, if I'm a game developer and I'm like a solo developer, and like maybe I have a musician, maybe I have an artist, but like it's the 3 of us. We are an indie game company. $2 probably covers our lives. Because like, if we make a game that gets 1 million downloads, let's say the base game is $10, and then we release 3 expansions that are $2, that's like $2 million. And I know Steam takes a chunk of that or whatever. But
yeah,
at the end of the day, like, if it takes you've already got all the mechanics of the game worked out, you're probably just adding some kind of like landscape content and maybe new monsters and stuff. That'll probably take you a year. And so if you sell 1 million copies of that $2 expansion, that's like a $400,000 for you, the artist and the musician.
Yeah. Or even take Undertale, made by one person.
Yeah, not completely. I think
I don't think they had like DLC or anything for it,
they didn't. Yeah,
but just like the game came out, it was just a guy.
it was him and his like girlfriend or wife or something though.
Yeah.
Because the Temi village in Undertale is like based off of whoever their artist was,
Okay.
who like helped with some of the designs. But yeah, Mapperone, the Concerned Ape, actually a solo developer. He released Stardew Valley completely alone.
Yeah.
And like super impressive, dude. I wish that I think I have the software development skills to do that, but I probably have the music skills too, but definitely not the art skills.
I don't have the motivation to do it. Like, I could probably figure out some of the other stuff, but I just could never be bothered.
Do you
And not
do
even in like a I don't care way. I just it'd be so much effort for what I think the reward would be.
and I mean, most people who do it, I think a lot of people who do it expecting a big reward are doing it the wrong way unless you
Yeah.
work for like a game company. Like if you're doing an indie development, I don't think it's fair for you to be like, I should be making a full-time salary starting out. Like, no. Keep your day job. Always keep your day job.
Yep.
Hopefully you enjoy your day job, but if you don't, keep your day job. Something needs to pay the bills.
You need income.
Yeah.
Money can be exchanged for goods and services.
True. Alrighty, what else you got? Anything else?
The other thing I got written down here, in that same kind of vein, is just like botting.
Yeah.
This is something that's more prevalent in like MMOs or games with internal economies.
Incredibly prevalent in World of Warcraft.
Yes. But like, what do you think a path forward for this is, given the state of like RMT existing?
What is RMT?
Real money trading.
You mean like someone buys a bunch of gold for a WoW
Yeah.
account? Gotcha. I mean, I'm never going to sit here and say that botting is okay, because I think it gives you an unfair advantage against other players, especially in a real-time way. And especially in WoW, it kind of artificially inflates the economy.
So true.
And so it kind of makes money transactions, like, if you're not botting, it makes money transactions a forced thing. Because, like,
it's also been having in WoW specifically been having a weird like secondary effect of so normally you can do 5 instances an hour on each individual character.
Yeah.
And I've been farming gold that way, like myself, sitting in a dungeon killing really easy mobs and resetting it mindlessly, just by myself. But botting is at such a point that trying to reload into the dungeon will give an error message now, because there's so many individual instance IDs active that the Blizzard servers are not like loading new ones.
Wow. That's crazy. Yeah. And like botting is a form of cheating. We can call it what it is.
Yeah.
And I don't know, cheating in like any multiplayer game, it kind of scummy. Not kind of. It is scummy. Like, if you want to cheat at single player games, be my guest, I don't care. Like, if you want to ruin the game for yourself, that's fine. And I know that there's got to be some kind of psychology to why people want to cheat at MMOs, but I think they're robbing themselves of an experience more than they're, like, gaining.
Yeah.
And so, to answer your question for the way forward, I mean, I think the way forward is what always has been happening, is just the cat and mouse game of the botters find some new exploit that they can use, and then the devs figure out a patch for that exploit, and they roll out a ban wave, and then that'll happen until the end of time. That is, I would imagine.
Why not ban the people who buy it?
What?
Why not ban the people who like buy it?
They do. They ban the accounts. Oh, you mean like
who buy gold?
Forgive me. I thought buying gold in the game was a real thing.
Not in some versions of WoW, but the conversion rate from buying it through like some third-party website is way better.
Gotcha. Yeah, that one's a little tough because I don't know if everyone who buys gold knows what they're doing or how the gold is earned. Because I'm sure that there might be some people who are like, yeah, this person got the gold legit, and I'm just going to give them some money for their time. Like, I know that back in the old times, in ye olden days, people made like a full-time living leveling up characters in video games to the max level. And they would like level up 5 of them per an account and then sell off the account.
The botting situation in WoW is like crazy because there are just people making a living, having bots going, and then selling that gold for real money.
Yeah. Like, obviously that shouldn't happen. That is a form of scamming / cheating.
Yeah.
I don't know if
TOS.
Yeah, I don't know if a blanket ban for buying gold is... It would definitely work in the short term, but I think people would find a better way to, or a different way to do it that Blizzard couldn't track, or some kind of thing.
Do you think that it's better to put a squeeze on the demand than the supply? Because if you ban gold buyers,
yeah, the demand goes
there's not
down.
as much reason to.
That's a hard question. I don't know. I mean, I think the supply is the unethical part, not so much the demand. And for me, if I'm rolling out patches like that, I would like to make the most bad people banned while saving most of the good people.
Okay. I think I can kind of get where you're going. I think we should just ban gold buyers. Like, if you buy gold, just get hammered with the 2-week ban. Be like, hey, slap on the wrist.
Oh, see, when I
again
was
and you're out.
that I can agree with. I thought you were talking about a permaban.
Yeah, I think for repeat offenders, yeah, but
yeah, for
I think
a suspension for gold buying is fine.
I think the way you said it is really good. Of like, botting is, I think, worse than being a gold buyer.
Yeah.
Even though one is creating the need for the other, I think it's more of like a human desire to take the path of least resistance.
Yeah.
Whereas one is actively contributing to a thing that is cheating. Because realistically, to play devil's advocate, I browse the WoW subreddits a lot, and I see a lot of people who are just like, yeah, I buy gold, I just don't want to farm that.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, I can see that. You don't want to spend... Like, I've spent a good chunk of hours just, like, farming these plants in Dire Maul. And I don't really have that much gold to show for it.
Yeah.
Because I'm just one person. And so I can totally see the appeal. I wouldn't do it because I'd never want to risk my account and the time that I have spent.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like... I'll never get a Lionheart helm, which is like 3,000 gold.
There's no way that you
rare.
don't have 3,000 gold.
No, WoW Classic's economy is way smaller
WoW
than that.
Classic.
Yeah.
I thought you were talking
In
about...
retail, I have like hundreds of thousands.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Yeah. But in Classic, it's like... I could get there. It's going to take me a long time. And by the time I get that gold, it's not going to be worth it anymore.
Yeah.
We'll have new gear available. So I can see that, like, I'm a guy who wants to save my time. And I'll spend $5 on some shady website where they'll steal my information and just get the item.
Mm-hmm.
And Blizzard won't ban me because they tend not to. Or if they do, it'll be for like a week. And usually you keep the gold, apparently.
Interesting.
And you just, you just do the thing.
Yeah. I mean, personally, if I were trying to actually pinpoint the source, it's not even the people who bot, because the people who bot buy the botting mechanics from like a bot retailer. Like, there is a kingpin of botting, and it's like 3 companies, I think. If Blizzard could find a way to just shut those companies down or make their product unsellable, the problem would go away entirely. Or, like, because I'm okay with buying gold if the gold is gotten legitimately. Like, if I spend 50 hours farming 1,000 gold, to you, I'm like, do you want 1,000 gold? It's just $10.
Oh, see, I disagree there.
Really, why?
I don't think, especially in an MMO, I don't think how well you do outside of the game should influence your ability to get things inside the game.
So are you not in favor of any kind of pay-to-win games then?
I think there's a different, like, gacha games are different because they're not PvP, typically.
But let's say something
Honkai
like
Star Rail doesn't have a PvP aspect.
let's say something like Clash Royale. Where
yeah, I think I'm mostly against it because I mean there's a whole like predatory side of a lot of that type of monetization. Clash Royale I'm not too familiar with, but from my understanding, when they have tournaments, it's like standardized accounts.
yeah. But to get the practice on the standardized accounts, you have to have a personal account that has all of the cards.
Yeah.
And just getting the cards is part of the pay-to-win system. It's like a gacha.
Yeah.
And then you pay for more rolls.
I think I don't play any gacha games that have PvP.
Mm-hmm.
Because I don't think my loss should be dictated to the amount of money you have.
Yeah, I would totally agree.
And I think it's just more prevalent. It's like a worse feeling in MMOs. Because the idea a lot of times is like, I'm going to spend time grinding. Like, I'm going to spend on average like 6 days played time to get to level 60 in WoW Classic.
Yeah.
Like for a lot of people, I think that's just a lot. That's a good chunk of time.
And a lot of people are like, the way we're talking about this kind of makes me think about Pokemon EV training. Because a lot of people like dunk on their casual friends because they like have a fully EV trained Pokemon squad of the most top tier Pokemon in whatever game. I'm curious if there's a system to like bot EV training in those games and like
the new
use it to
games made
dunk on
way
your
easier.
friends. Really?
Yeah, you can get like I'm trying to think of how the most recent ones have it.
I think Sword and Shield is the most, or Scarlet and Violet still
You
the
can
most
just
recent.
buy like vitamins in the most recent ones.
Oh, and they'll just automatically EV your
You
things?
get like 10 points per vitamin or whatever, and then you can farm other berries that'll reduce your EVs if you accidentally killed something.
Oh, wow.
But gone are the days of like fighting one thing gives you 4 EVs of a certain thing based on what that Pokemon was.
Gotcha. I mean, honestly...
I'm having tea delivered.
Oh, nice. Man, I want to go drink some tea.
For Team Rocket, speaking of Pokemon.
Team Rocket. Well, speaking of Team Rocket, it might be just about time for us to blast off again.
It is about that time.
That was a phenomenal segue. Proud of that one.
That's our first good one. Mark it up, mark it up.
All right, well, that's all for us this week. We will see you guys hopefully next week, as long as no one gets sick or injured.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah.
Thank you all for watching, and if you'd missed the episode, catch us over on YouTube, engage the algorithm in all those ways that you can. Follow us on Blue Sky. We post usually before every episode, or if we're gonna have a cancellation. We didn't post last week, but you know, that's it. Bygones be bygones. But catch us over on all those 4 links: Spotify, Blue Sky, YouTube, Twitch. We're kind of working on Apple Music.
rough going there. Rough going.
Speaking of AAA companies having bad product.
Yeah.
But yeah, engage the algorithm. Let us know what you think. If you have questions, send them over on the YouTube comments. We'll be sure to check it out because we'll probably get a notification. We look forward to seeing you next week.
Yep. Bye.